Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Snake Pit Podcast, your one and only stop for all things entertainment, all things homegrown. Coming to you out of Toledo, Ohio, I'm your host, Jake Pilewski. You can follow us at jakepilewski.com. That's Pilewski. The Snake Pit. This is definitely a first for the Snake Pit Podcast. I am happy to have, a buddy that I met, quite a while back. Are you going by CJ Clark now? Is that the thing? Or is it Christopher John? I mean, what?
I just more or less ran it on CJ Clark due to some, we'll call it some personal attacks online. So I did the name change up, but most people still just know me as Chris.
Okay. And then you, my friend, please introduce yourself. Full name.
I'm Andrew Lynch.
Okay. Height?
Height, about 7'5".
Perfect.
120.
So you guys are here to represent. You are 2 or 4, if I am correct, of
correct.
Four Fires Meadery.
Yep.
Okay, you didn't change the name of me overnight, so I'm glad. I don't sound like an ass.
Nope, we went through quite a few names to get there. A little bit of legal process, but we landed on Four Fires. We're pretty happy with it.
So you guys are kind of like a band.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More or less the Fab Four.
So first and foremost, it's a meadery. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's a D and not a T. Let's get that straight, because that totally changed this interview real quick. Please explain to folks what a mead is, or meadery. That's M-E-A-D.
A mead, at its truest, most simple heart, is just honey and water and yeast fermented out. I mean, if you look at it, it's one of the most ancient drinks that has been around forever. And with the craft scene, for beer at least, picking up, there's been a lot of people making the move over to mead. I mean, craft wines are definitely a thing now. They're becoming a thing. We haven't quite hit the bubble yet. The bubble hasn't started, and we're trying to catch it before it hits. We're really happy with the product we're allowed to create.
Do you have anything to add to that, my friend?
Yeah, it's how he's touching on the bubble. We're starting to see some end caps, with a bunch of meat on there. Usually it's kind of in between because they don't know where to put it. So you'll see it in the wine section at some places, and then beer at other. So we're really kind of in the middle and trying to pioneering, trying to make our own space in the alcohol industry.
And there's really not that many meaderies in the country. I mean, let alone the world, but not in the country either. I mean, up and running meaderies right now, I'd say there's less than 100 in the country, whereas there's, I think, over 3,000 at least breweries, 2,000, 3,000 breweries.
There's like 300 meaderies in the country, and then like 5,400 breweries. Just to put that into perspective.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So how does one go about, first and foremost, deciding to start? Now, I'm sure this is the wrong, but this, I mean, in modern day where we're talking about adulting and taking just nouns and making them verbs. So do you mead?
Yeah.
Are you meeting?
It's mead maker, I think, officially.
Yeah. A mead meeting?
We label them. If we write it online and we're talking to each other, we will write out meeting, MEADING.
I love it.
Because, who doesn't love puns?
Puns. I love them. So, okay, so then going along with that, what originally had you guys to say, let's do this? Like, let's... we have our jobs, we have what we do, but let's make this. Let's do this.
All of us were introduced into this on the craft beer scene originally. I mean, we were all into buying, going to these brewery releases, going to these craft beer releases, buying exclusive bottles, and then we realized, as friends, that we were all into home brewing. So we've brewed beer together, and we've been friends and brewing together for, the 4 of us for at least 2 years now. And then it just kind of more or less made the transition, finding new hobbies, finding new product, and finding product that you're into and that it inspires you. We just kind of made that move over to mead. We looked at each other one day and we said, we're pretty good at this. We should, take a look and peek into what we can do to move this to the next step forward.
And I think a lot of it was the mead scene is really young, and we, like you said, we were all home brewers, and we kind of started looking into mead making, because really for the longest time, it was really Bee Nectar has been this juggernaut in the mead community. And then probably a few years ago, we've started to see multiple highly crafted meaderies like Schramm's, who Ken Schramm's the owner of, and he literally wrote the book on mead.
Figuratively and literally.
Figuratively and literally, yes.
Like this guy, Ken Schramm, literally brought like the revitalization of mead back to the world back in, I think it was 92 when he restarted the Mazer Cup, which is the international mead competition. I mean, Ken's been producing meads homebrew-wise for decades. I mean, at least 10, 20 years he's been producing what's considered the highest end of the craft right now. And, you know, he more or less brought everyone back into the game. So, I mean, we really do owe everything to kind of to Ken Schramm. And then, you know, Bee Nectar and Kunin are both two meaderies and breweries within 20 minutes of Schramm's. And the three of them are what a lot of people consider to be more or less a holy trinity of mead. I mean, it's ground zero for mead.
I dig it. Can you touch on some of the more popular flavors of mead, and then even what you guys are doing?
Yeah, I'll tell you a little bit about kind of the basic ones, and then I'll have Chris go into more of the crazy ones.
Cool.
So one of the things with the four fires, there's four of us, and that's kind of where we got our name. We a little bit derived it from the original settlers in the Toledo area. It was the clans and or Native Americans. They were part of the three fires tribe.
Oh, that's cool.
So we wanted to take a little bit of tribute from that, and we added our four fires. And the unique thing about having four people is we're really all we all think differently. You know, Chris, I would say, is more of like a wild card. He kind of comes up with really nutty stuff.
That's why I love him.
Love him or hate him. Either way.
Hate to love him or love to hate him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we have that, and we have Josh Kirk, who's another one of the four fires, and he's really been focusing on stuff with peppers. One of the really fantastic ones is we call it crambanero, and it's cranberry habanero, and it's just balanced so well. It's unreal.
Well, people think habanero is straight up hot, and like if you ever had a habanero pepper, there's a lot of fruitiness to it.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
it's awesome.
Big time flavors.
It's not an unbearable heat. We make it so that it is very, very doable for everyone to drink this. This is not a mead that would scare off someone who can't handle, we'll say, red hot or sriracha. If you can drink those, you could drink this mead.
Who drinks red hot and sriracha?
Anyone who likes hot sauce?
No, I mean I do, but I'm just.
And then we got a couple of the other guys, myself, and then Ethria Rajan, who's another one of our members. And the couple of us kind of stick to, I don't want to say more basic, but more traditional style meads, going with just that honey, yeast, water mix, which is what a traditional mead is. You take that certain type of honey, and there's much more than I knew, much more different types of honeys than I knew about than when we started. So we can just take that, and then you can add berries to it, or adjuncts, which would be like vanilla beans and chocolate or cocoa nibs. So we have all that different stuff that we can actually do to it.
I feel like you could start the day off with a mead instead of a coffee, talking about those flavors.
We've got one for that.
Really?
You've got your choice. You've got Crank, which is a single coffee mead. I think we ran Orange Blossom honey on that one, right? We do a double Crank. Is that just double the amount of coffee, or is that two?
Double the coffee, double the time.
Double the coffee, double the time. And then that one actually, last time we brewed it, got aged in a rye whiskey barrel from Toledo Spirits Co.
Yeah. So I'm just like fascinated by I mean, it sounds like endless opportunities.
I can pretty much make a testament to that there's endless opportunities. I mean, I've gone as far as pissing off the other three fires and spending money on ingredients that I was explicitly told not to make, and then making a mead that they got then more pissed off about because it was actually delicious. So I was explicitly instructed to not buy beets and ferment beets in a mead. So I immediately got the car and went out to Cholino's and bought as many beets as I could buy to make a big batch of beet mead.
Gotta prove them wrong, right?
Yep.
Like a true artist.
I mean, for the scene right now, the big thing is experimentation. I mean, there's people. I mean, one of the bigger ones that are out in the scene right now. A little bit of controversy behind it, but people are playing with peanut butter and jelly as a mead. So they're using grapes. They're using whole peanut butter or whole roasted peanuts and fermenting them together, and it's turning out some interesting at times qualities, but at other times, I mean, you're drinking this stuff and you're like, am I actually drinking liquid peanut butter and jelly?
That's awesome. Is there, and I have to ask this because it sounds like a very, I mean, there's obviously a lot that goes into it. So are you picky about the kind of honey you use then when it comes to making this?
Yeah, we're definitely picky about it. Right now, we order a lot of our stuff from a large honey distributor, but what we really want to do is we want to get it local. We want to try to bring it back and get at least people. We really want to focus on Toledo, and if not Toledo, then Ohio, and if not in Ohio, then hopefully in our tri-state area, the Indiana, Michigan area. And there's just tons of fruit reserves up in Michigan. Same thing with honey.
I mean, there's great apiaries up in the Michigan area, as well as tons of fruit groves. I mean, Michigan is the cherry state. I mean, it would be foolish of us to not source some incredible Montmorency and Balaton cherries out of the Traverse City area.
Well, especially if you're talking, this is how old, like how far does meads date back? I mean, because I know you said it's very, very old. And was it British or was it
BC?
Yeah. Oh, really? It's even that far back.
Ancient Egypt and Samaria.
Wow, I had no idea.
I'm pretty sure it has predated written script.
Wow.
Yeah, there was before archival.
The stuff they're afraid to talk about.
So I think same thing with beer. I know beer's 5,000 to 6,000 years old.
It's like
It's
like the discoveries they've seen with beer recently. There's been the same thing with mead. They'll find these old fermented beverages, sealed away in the ground or in tombs, locked in these amphora jars, which are just big clay jars that they used to ferment in. And there's these beverages still sitting here perfectly sealed. So, they do all their science shit, analyze the hell out of it, and then tell us what we did wrong and how we can do it better.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I can't give you an exact date, but I know that it was some thousands BC.
That puts in perspective more than most people can even fathom. So, I mean, that kind of does it. I was thinking you're going to say, a couple 100 years. So that's...
Oh, no. It's believed to be one of the oldest styles of fermented beverage to exist.
So maybe meads are truly the nectar of the gods after all is said and done.
In Norse custom, it was very much not exactly believed that, but that was more or less the thought process of it. When you died and you went to Valhalla, you drank mead. You drank mead and you drank grog. I mean, grog was more or less a fermented beer with honey added, so you're still essentially drinking mead.
Oh, man. So what, as mead makers, being a musician, any artist, you get that initial kind of thing that pulls you into it. What was your guys's, each one of you can answer this, what was your first experience with a mead that made you go, not that oh, this is great, but made you go, this might be something I actually want to do and make and create?
I don't know if I knew the exact moment when I wanted to make meads. I know when I kind of fell for meads as a product and as an idea.
That works just as well, yeah.
And it was a bee nectar product. I actually went up for one of the releases, and they have a product called Episode 13. It is just a traditional mead aged in bourbon barrels, and it is just so phenomenally perfect. I mean, it's $25 for a 375 milliliter bottle, and I don't bat an eye at paying that.
I think it was at one of our members' actually going away party, and at a bar, and the local used to be down Airport Highway was.
by where Airport Highway when you right before you turn from McQueen's.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we were having a going away.
Brandon Dorio
Brandon Dorito.
and Kalen Savage.
Yep.
No relation to Macho Man.
That's a bummer.
I know.
So we're having a going away party with that.
We knew it was going to turn this way eventually. So.
It was gonna happen. Yeah, already hit up the cloister before he came here. So
Which also Greg Zappone had before, and Greg Zappone designed everything you see inside Cloister. So
there you go.
That's a
Yeah.
nice plug.
Nice transition.
There you go.
One to the other. It's beautiful.
I mean, we do love our local guys. We love all the other breweries here, and we definitely wholly support all of them. I mean,
You definitely cut him off though before he even gave his answer. He's throwing he was throwing a party.
edit that.
No way, I'm keeping that.
So we're having a party, and I hopefully Chris wasn't there. And
Actually, I don't know if I was.
another Toledo guy was bringing around a ceramic bottle, which is so weird, with a little flip top on it. It kind of looked like, the XXX mason jars, the old style moonshine almost looking. And he had like a Ziploc bag around it for whatever reason.
The bottle broke in transit.
Oh, okay. Okay, so he was holding on to whatever drops came out of there. And it was actually a mead, and I didn't know that anything could taste like this. It was so viscous and thick. And it had these berry and chocolate flavors that I didn't know were possible in this mead. I think that opened it up really to knowing that this was a craft beverage that you could really, make into something like beer. How it's gotten, crazy flavors, went from, your Budweiser all the way up to, your double-barreled chocolate mocha.
Now you've even got the who is it? New Belgium that has the Ben and Jerry's thing going, the
Yeah.
chocolate chip cookie
Oh,
dough
yeah.
kind of beer.
And then Voodoo Donuts has it with Rogue. Yeah, it's nuts.
Keep them coming though. That's
I mean, homebrewers are doing all sorts of stuff. I know there's a brewery out there somewhere that does it, because I remember reading about a woman flipping out because she couldn't get any Count Chocula one Halloween because a brewery had bought up the entire city's supply of Count Chocula to brew a
What?
beer with.
And Captain Crunch, I think.
what?
Yeah, I think they did Captain Crunch as well. I mean, I did a French Toast Crunch Stout, and that was fun.
French toast crunch the cereal?
Yeah.
I didn't even had it.
It goes pretty good in cereal.
Oh, okay.
Toast Crunch. The new hybrid from
I don't know.
Kellogg's is the.
Well, that totally goes into the next question. Then I want to ask, what is either the craziest concept you've come up with for a mead, or one that you still have not even attempted that you really want to kind of tap into, or are we giving something away? And if we are, then
I wouldn't say that we're giving anything away. I mean, there's a lot of crazy ideas that we have, but there's a lot of limitations right now. One being, one of the downsides of mead is that it is exponentially more expensive to create, produce, and sell than beer is. There's a lot of regulations that mead makers are trying to fight right now, much like Ohio lifted their beer ABV limit this year. Mead makers, we have a 14% ABV limit before our tax rate goes up through the roof. If we produce something over that, we're paying possibly more than the batch would ever produce.
60% more
Yeah.
taxes.
wow.
And then we have a total cap, I think, at 32%.
It's 20 something, mid 20s, I think.
Oh, was it 24 then?
24, I think.
I think I was just excessive with that. I think 32 is my ice mead.
You're not a numbers man. It's
Sorry,
okay.
I made a 32% mead recently.
Jeez. I mean, I wouldn't turn it away. I'm just saying. So, how about you? Do you have any that you've conceptualized that?
I think a lot of our crazy ones, like a lot of artists, you put down everything on paper.
Yeah.
I know you've talked about, throwing, if you have like a a rhythm in your head, writing it down right away or getting it in your notebook. So anything crazy, really, we write down. I know Chris and I have talked about it before, and we're even joking about it earlier today, just doing just a crazy mead that's super opulent, and using, all the most expensive ingredients and making like 12 bottles of it or something, and just, bedazzling the bottle and putting, like, I don't know, gold leaf on the cork or something.
Sex it up a little bit.
Just make like 12 bottles, and I don't know, probably just donating everything to charity or something.
That's more or less something that we would. The craziest ideas are ideas that we kind of set aside for stuff that we want to kind of give back to the community with. There's a lot of groups and a lot of people in the area that need help, and we, again, along with home brewing and being involved in the brewing and craft beer Toledo community in Toledo, we like to give back, and we would love to be able to use what we hope is our future job to be able to give back and to do something like that super opulent mead that we make 12 bottles of. It's comparable to like Brewdog when they're doing their what's it called?
Punks.
Something for punks. I can't remember it. It's an investment word.
Yeah.
It's more or less you're
We have time to look it up.
Equity for
We can
punks.
always edit this part out. We have time to look it up.
It's equity for punks.
It is. It's equity for punks.
Equity for punks.
Yep.
All right.
So more or less, you're buying private shares in Brewdog, and if you spend 20,000 in shares, you get this 55% ABV beer that is then stuffed inside a taxidermized squirrel. Unless you're spending $20,000, you're never going to see this beer. We'd do something like that, but without the investment in ourselves. We'd like to take these bottles, do it as like a charity auction, and then find a local charity that we support.
Well, that's admirable. I mean,
it would be awesome eventually if we got big enough that we could do our own charity and we'd know exactly where it's going. But obviously that's way down the road kind of thing. But but it's a hope. It's a hope.
well, so that's what I want to ask you too, because I know this is still in its early stages, but where have people been able to taste your products so far?
So it's been kind of scattered. So we're all making our stuff, in our homes right now, because we don't have a location. That's what we're, obviously getting set up to move into. So we've been either, sharing it with friends, sending it to friends of friends, having them share it with other people, trying to get feedback that way, and then through giveaways on our website, just people sending us their label, their address, their shipping label, and then we can send it out to them, trying to get it to as many people who want it as we can before we actually start.
How much does sample cost?
Oh, we don't charge anything for the sample.
Really?
It's just you just pay for your shipping to get it there.
Well, perfect. I will be giving you my address before we're done
Well, there you
tonight.
go. If you have us on again, then we'll bring in a whole smorgasbord.
Well, I'll gladly have you on again before even the actual temptation part came in. So, no, I'm sure that's a big part is getting people to taste it because that lets you take the next step. So then, what I want to ask is, what is the next step for you guys? Where do you go from here? Because you're still conceptualizing, you're still trying things out. So, what's the next goal in the grand scheme of everything?
Our next step right now is something we've been working on for about the past month and a half. We've been speaking with another local proprietor and someone who helps out local businesses immensely in the area. I'm not sure if he wants to be named right now or not, but he's more or less offered us a deal of a lifetime for the first year, where we're paying next to nothing for our facility. More or less, literally just running costs. Just to get us up and running for the first year so we can get through that first year of growing pains. So that's, the next step is getting the lease work signed and locked down, which then allows us to send out or get our letter of intent and send out and apply for our licensing with the TTB. And then once we apply for it, it's about at least a minimum of a month wait. I've heard of people waiting upwards of a year plus, but we have hopes that we'll be able to move it through pretty quick. We've got some really nice people on our side helping us out.
If you wouldn't mind explaining what TTB is, that way everybody knows it's listening.
The TTB is more or less just the Alcohol and Tobacco Trade Bureau. They just monitor and regulate anything that deals with alcohol, tobacco sales, and production. So anytime there's a label made for a beer, so anytime you see any of the pretty or cool labels that you see on any beers, wines, meads, this government facility more or less has to approve them first, on the artwork, the naming, the even down to the wording. I mean, right now, like I was telling you earlier, with just some of the more silly laws, we are actually not even allowed to label our product as mead. It has to be labeled according to the government as honey wine.
That's a state law, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
It doesn't apply to every state, but it does apply to most of the states.
Yep.
Really? Interesting. And that's just because
Silly-
of
silly
the law
technicalities. I mean,
itself? I mean,
It's just, I think it's somewhat based off of archaic laws that were around before, and no one's just taken the time or bothered to fix them because they figured they were fine in place. I mean,
which those exist in many different forms of substances. Wink, wink to those out there.
one of the products that we're most adamant about using, and one of the most, deep flavored fruits that we absolutely love, are black currants. And I guarantee that 99% of people don't know this fact, but in all technicality, black currants are still technically illegal to grow in the U.S.
Huh.
Based on a law that was around during the Revolutionary War, where all you assholes told us to go away.
So, over 200 years ago.
Yeah, Chris is English. Partially. So, and actually, I think it's illegal to actually bring it over state lines. If we get Michigan, we can't buy Michigan currants and bring them over to Ohio.
I don't know if that's true.
That's what I've heard.
That's what Google is
That's
for.
a Google machine.
That's a Googler.
Just for currants, yeah, I think so.
So then let me ask you guys, because I love what's happening. I love everything that's going on. I mean, in the fact that you guys might be bringing another drink option to town. I mean, anybody that enjoys, we just celebrated what was the 83rd anniversary of Prohibition repeal. So anybody that enjoys the given rights,
Libations,
so we have another option. But so is your guys' goal to bring it in the bars first, or bring it into retail, or bring it in some of these little small town shops, or what's your goal once you get that approval, once you get that branding?
Right. Yeah. So our first step is probably the last 2 months we've been going over how to fund ourselves. We don't want to go and get a loan from a bank. What we're trying to do is get as many local people who are interested in our meadery and who showed interest to help fund us through basically kind of like a membership process almost. And it's really similar actually to BrewDog. Except they don't get actual equity. They get it in, membership rewards, basically. And from there, we're going to use that to open a production facility. And hopefully after a year, we're hoping we'll be able to expand enough that we'll be able to move out and open a tap room. And tap room and production facility, I hope. And then people will be able to actually come physically to our facility and try our meads, and we can have events there finally. And
I'll say, would you look to have a couple edibles to be paired with it, or is that a thing? Or I mean,
oh yeah.
Because I know that's always an extra license and all that.
Yeah.
But I know
definitely.
I know that CJ/Chris, or whatever he's gonna be called, knows a thing or two about how to prepare some foods. So.
He's all right. Yeah, he's pretty good. Actually, our last mead tasting we did with a bunch of guys, mead guys in Ohio. One of them brought a bunch of really exquisite chocolate, and we paired it with a bunch of the different meads. And
interesting.
Yeah, it was just sugar on sugar. It was just straight up beats, but it was incredible. So we're definitely hoping we can do a lot of good pairings with that.
I'm gonna say sugar on sugar is a way to America's heart. So I mean, go ahead and say so.
I absolutely love it. And then going back to the distribution just for a second. During the first year, it's again one of the issues that we've been looking at, because we're trying to find the appropriate way to be able to sell our product, which we can't sell out of the facility, at least not directly. You can't come to the facility and buy it there. So we've looked at online sales, but the only issue that we're facing there is we would like for this product to be available to Toledoans and locals, first and have first priority there. And that's, some of the obstacles that we're facing right now. So we've been, we get contacted by a few of the local bottle shops, Anderson's, Corks, Marino's, Joseph's. They're all incredible places that just, they bring the best of the best to the area. And, we would like to run through them in the future. But the problem that we face and that we're going to face for at least the first year is our batch size compared to our demand. Because right now, without tooting our own horn, we do have a fair bit of national recognition. There's, amongst the craft beer scene, there are the people that get really, really into it, and we've got our forums that we go to. We trade our beer. We talk about our beer.
I was just going to say, toot your horn, man. This is what this is for.
Sometimes we drink beer. Occasionally, mostly we just trade it and make other people jealous, but occasionally we drink it. So, we've now been recognized as, again, without putting, blowing smoke up my own ass, we've been recognized as one of the top, 10-ish meaderies in the country, at least up and coming. People are actively searching for our stuff. People are actively trying to trade actual brewery bottles for our stuff. Bottles that have some incredible secondary valuation, and we have to sit there and be like, I can't do that.
It's really bad juju to trade your own stuff.
Yeah.
So,
well, you guys are truly, in more ways than one, are going against the grain, if you will.
Yeah.
And
Which is a brewery.
I dig that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I dig it. That's and you're giving us another option, and that's, I mean, let's face it. We're in 2017. We're essentially looking for more options. I mean, the consumerism is crazy like it's never been before. There's so many options in every medium of every art out there. You guys are doing this awesome art that gets people inebriated, essentially, with and it's probably going to register better on your Fitbit than most of the beers out there. So
no.
No.
It's not. It's just pure sugar. Pure sugar.
At least you guys are honest.
Yeah.
So maybe don't pair it with a piece of pie. Maybe pair it with
a salad. I don't know. It's kale.
A little bit of insulin.
Insulin.
So I'm gonna ask you guys, and I want an answer from both of you before I let you go. Mind you, ladies and gentlemen, we're listening to 2 of the 4 members from Four Fires Meadery. Now you know what a meadery is, so. And now I know what a meadery is, too. So I want to hear it from both of you guys. Before I let you go, I want to hear some advice from you guys, because you guys are actually doing it. And honestly, you guys are, like, too young, in my opinion, to in like,
Grand scheme.
in the grand scheme of things, you guys are so young to be doing this. I even had a guy that I work with. I work in retail during the day because, I'm a musician, so we make, here and there. And so, and this guy is probably, mid-30s, and he's like, did you hear about these guys doing this? I think it's called Four Fires Meadery. And I was like, holy shit, I can't wait to tell Chris about, like, that somebody actually knows this, and you guys aren't even in the storefronts yet.
That's
and people are already
surreal,
talking about it. And he was like, man, it's so cool, because he's like, I'm in my mid-30s, and I'm like, what am I going to do tomorrow? And he's like, and these guys are like making it happen and actually making something. So what kind of advice do each of you have to anybody that's out there that, no matter what medium of art they're doing, because you guys are making something, but you're actually doing it. I want you to give guys advice to anybody out there, no matter what they're doing.
I think, for me at least, and I think the rest of them would agree as well, is honestly, if it's your passion, it's not hard. I mean, it's, creating a business out of it is the hard part. But if it's your passion and you love it, really diving in and working hard for it isn't really hard. But once you have that passion and, maybe a little bit of a proprietary, product or whatever that may be, your album, your music, or, beverage, I think you just need to follow that and figure out a way to make that passion into something you can live off of. I think that's what fuels me, at least.
So balance
in multiple ways.
yeah, of passion and business sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Good for you guys.
I think I might be a little bit different from the other guys because, and they can tell you first and foremost hand, out of anyone that we have met, that we're friends with, I am a spiteful person. Not to say that necessarily in a negative way, but I will, like I said, I made a beet meat out of spite.
So you're an artist to your bone marrow, essentially. You're
All I'm saying
spiteful.
is people are going to be telling us, like I've been told throughout my life. I mean, it took me 27 years to find what I want to do for the rest of my life. People are going to tell you all your life the stuff you're passionate about, that you shouldn't follow it because this and that. And, you know, that does apply to some people, but it doesn't apply to everyone. And I think especially in the art community. I mean, in the art community, it's art. There's no bad art. There's no good art. There's just art. There is.
It's open-ended.
If you love doing it, do it. Do it well, work hard at it, and the business will come. Yeah, you're going to have to do some clerical work. Just do it. Jump in head first, and don't look back.
Bold as I expected from this guy.
I think if you're an artist, and I kind of know through blowing glass and stuff.
Because Andrew is another.
What the hell haven't you said anything about that? God.
We're talking about the Meadery.
I don't care. You're an artist, man. What the hell are you talking about blowing glass?
Well, another day, So, yes, as a glass artist, there is a lot of luck. I mean, you can make great stuff. I've seen so many artists make.
Glass artist at where?
Well, for myself, Sticky Lynch, but yeah, I work at the museum, Museum Glass Pavilion, and then
We probably saw you at the wine tastings when we went. You guys work your ass off. We're all
probably.
drinking wine
Yeah.
and eating smoked salmon. Are you kidding me?
Probably, yeah. Oh, no doubt. So sometimes you're just lucky, and the guy that likes your piece could have $10 in his pocket, or he might be the one with 10 million. So it really makes a difference. With a little bit of luck, but the harder you work, I know the saying, the harder you work, the luckier you get, and I think that's really what it's all about.
Yeah, I mean, hard work can create luck. I mean, and not all the time, because sometimes somebody has this much talent. Well, nobody can see this, so I guess.
I failed on other talents firsthand throughout my life. I've found things that I thought I really cared about and that I was good at, but I wasn't necessarily really good at or great at. And, I didn't take the time or the effort to put that full effort forth. And, maybe I could have had that talent, but it wasn't something, at least, maybe not consciously, but unconsciously, I didn't put forth the effort because it didn't seem fully worth it to me. And much like Andrew's glass or our meads, Andrew's glasswork is everything that I've seen. He puts his heart and soul into it. I mean, the only regret that I have is being broke from spending all my money on beer and mead to not have pieces of Andrew's around the house.
If that was not a compliment, man, I don't know.
You never know.
That's So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here, Chris, Andrew, 2/4 of Four Fires Meadery. Keep that in your spirits. Keep that in your head. Keep that in your ear. Look out for them. You have a Facebook, don't you?
Yep.
Correct.
Yeah. Do you have an official website, or are we just using the social media? Because more and more people are just using social media now because it's free, and more people to go to that than versus trying to travel onto some website now.
Social media for now, but we will definitely in the future more or less need to have. I mean, it's not completely required, but it is beneficial for us to have the website. Whether we do run bottle sales off of there or not is yet to be seen.
I think most likely.
But I'd say most likely if we were to run our sales in the first year, that it will be online sales run through the site. So yes, we will need a site, but for the time being, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook right now under just Four Fires Meadery.
That's where
And that's
all of our announcements will be through there, and even our giveaways, that'll be all through the Facebook and Instagram, So we're making our updates and show our progress and how far along we are to getting bottles into everybody's hands around Toledo.
Badass. Thank you for reaching out to me. Thank you for doing what you guys are doing. It's awesome to see that anybody's doing anything, and people all over the place in this town say there ain't nothing going on, but there's a whole lot going on, and you guys are just another prime example of people actually getting it done. And just like you said, if you want to do something, you got to get it done. You can't wait for it to come to you. You just got to make it happen. So You guys are amazing. Thank you. Chris, Andrew, thank you guys for being here. Thanks for having some drinks with me here on the podcast.
Of course.
And next time, maybe we'll get all 4 of you and we'll have some meads and things will get a little bit, I don't know.
The weirder, the better for us.
Yes.
I think, yeah.
Yeah.
It'll get hot in here.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it might be hot here anyway the next time we're on here. So
Oh, I did forget it's cold.
you guys are wonderful. Thank you. That might have been what you drank. You can follow us at jakepilewski.com. That's Pilewski. The Snake Man.